Hey everybody, it's me Stacy here at Scrapbooking Made Simple, and it is time for our next YouTube class. We are on YouTube number 141 and I have loads and loads to show you. I have got new dies and stamps to show you. I have got new bedazzled paper to show you. We're just chock full of goodness, and I have winner chicken dinner to announce, so that's always exciting. I also have what I'm calling a PSA, which is a public service announcement. And so if you are a die cutter, if you have a Big Shot machine or a Big Kick machine or a Big Shot Plus machine or a Vagabond machine or a Cuttlebug machine or a Grand Caliber machine or whatever die cutting machine you have, I really hope that you will stay and listen to what I have to say, because I do have some really important information that I want to share with you, mainly about the cutting plates to your machine and the warpage and the bowing and how to stop it and what's the real way to make it, fix it versus what you might have seen on some YouTubes out there. So I'm hoping that you will hang tight for that, because it won't take me very long, but I think it's really important that you know how to use your tools in the best possible way. And let me tell you, I spent about an hour at a listen with their key people who are everything Big Shot. So Kevin and Lisa, Kevin walks around with a micrometer gauge, you know he's serious, right? And then again, several times on the phone, because I really needed to understand what I'm going to explain to you so that I can put it in a way that you understand it, because you want to get the most out of what you've purchased, and I want to show you how to. So that's coming up, and again, it won't take me too long. As for winner chicken dinner, let's announce those. If you are, drum roll please, Alma Chanel, Channell, Chanel, I'm gonna go with it, Alma Chanel, or Joyce Lovato. If you are Alma Chanel or Joyce Lovato, congratulations, girls, you have just won from our last YouTube, which featured our Simply Refined dies and stamps, my line of Simply Refined dies and stamps, and yummy different markers and how to mix your markers and use them together, and the Spectrum Aqua pens, and so I think we'll send you a set of Spectra Aqua pens, one of the collections, because I think there's 4 of them, and I want to say they retail for $29.99 each. So wahoo kachoo, we'll send you either the neutrals or the florals, or we'll pick something pretty and get them out to you. But how are you going to claim your prize? It's so easy. You're just going to email us at winner, WINNER, at scrapbookingmadesimple.com. WINNER at scrapbookingmadesimple.com. Now, this is the YouTube where I release the next Simply Defined collection of dies and stamps, and yes, this is the YouTube, or the release that I did in honor of my dad. Now, when I was sitting working with him, and I didn't know that my dad wasn't going to be here to actually see them, so I was able to pull a couple pictures of me and my I am such a ham. I was a ham then, I'm a ham now. But I'll show those to you in a little bit, and we'll go through the collection and show you everything that you can do with it. But to start, I want to start with my little PSA announcement. And this is where the cheesy music comes in, and like the really bad grainy video comes in. Like when we were kids and they would do those when you were in high school or grammar school about all the little things, they were so cheesy. But this is my PSA, and it has to do with cutting plates. Now, if you have a die cutting machine, it really doesn't matter whose die cutting machine you're using, although we encourage you to use a Big Shot Plus machine, because we find them to be the best machines on the market. But regardless of whose machine you're using, chances are your plates, your cutting plates, your clear plates are getting warped. And there's a very specific reason why this happens, and it's all in it's a mathematical all sorts of technical little issues about why it happens, and I'm going to do my best to explain it to you so you understand. But more importantly, I'm going to try and explain to you how to know when your plates are done, when you're just done, and when to tell if your plates can be salvaged, if they can be fixed, less warpage, and how to make them that way. I understand that there's some videos out there that encourage you or talk about putting your clear plates in a microwave to heat them up and soften the plastic and flatten them, or even in your oven to put them in your oven. And I haven't watched these videos. I've heard about them, and I said, really? So when I was at Ellison, I said, can they do this? Can you put them in your oven? And they're like, no, don't ever put plastic in an oven or a microwave. It's not good. It's not the way to solve the problem. And you know what plastic smells like when it's heated and burning? Ooh, you do not want that smell throughout your house. So I'm going to show you what to do. And hopefully it makes sense to you. I'm going to explain the process. It won't take very long. I am going to tilt down and we are going to get started. So to begin with, I'm going to talk to you about cutting plates, regardless of what die machine you've got. Let's talk cutting plates and why they do what they do and how to make them better so that you save your money and you get the longest life out of your cutting plates. Are you ready? Okay, I'm gonna tilt on down and we're gonna go. All right, so now mind you, I am not, my college education, which is none basically, does not necessarily cover all the engineering aspects of why these work the way they work. But I want to start, can you see how bad that is? Is that just wicked? Not only is it bowed here, but it's bowed here. Wow, we really use this plate to its extent. When you are looking at your cutting plates, how do you know when it's pretty much time to just let them go? Now, you can still use your plates until they crack, absolutely. But a plate like this, where it's severely bowed, is never going to hit the die completely in the best way. So you may end up having a die that's not cutting well, and it's not because of the die, it's because your plates, look at that. Do you see that bow? It's like an S. So not only is this plate bowed this way, it's also bowed this way. So not only is it wavy like this, it's wavy like this. So it's at both ends, at both directions, this plate has really seen its day. Now, why are there these big humps here, and then if I turn it over, here? Well, obviously we needed to cut something, and we needed to cut it again and again and again and again and again, and they laid it in the exact same spot. Again and again and again and again. And when we got the bow here, they said, oh, let's flip it over and we'll start cutting here. And it bowed the other side. Look at, oh my gosh, that is so bad. But it's a testament to Ellison because by George, it hasn't cracked. Now, why do cutting plates warp? Well, it's really kind of simple. When you're putting a die on top of it, and you've got your plate and your paper and your die and your other cutting plate and you're sending it through, what's happening is the little blades, whether it be a chemically etched die or a big die like this, a steel rule die like this, doesn't matter if it's a thin die like this or a thick die like this, what's happening is that it's leaving its mark in there. Let me see, here is a beautiful, brand new, beautiful plate that has no cuts in it, no warpage, it's absolutely pristine. This is what they start out to be, and after we have used and used, this is what they end up looking like. But you're putting your die on there, and that little blade is cutting in to this plate, and that's exactly what it's supposed to do. We have people who will literally stop die cutting because they will say, oh my gosh, I already ruined my plates. No, that is the purpose of this, to cut into the paper and into the plate so that you get a beautifully clean cut every time. But as it's cutting into the plate, it's doing like a little V. Is that a U for you? A little V. And what's happening is every time you cut, that little V is stretching out the plastic on the plate. I mean, minutely. So so small, I mean minutely, but every little cut is just causing that plastic to slowly stretch and stretch and stretch. So while the plates are, I think, 8 by 6 or something like that, 9 by 6, after you've cut it so many times, especially if it's all on one side, this side may now be 8 1/4, while the side that you rarely used at all is still nice and tight, and it doesn't have any of those cuts to kind of make that stretch happen. And it happens over time, and it's very microscopic. You can't obviously see your clear or your plate stretching, but that's how a warp happens. If this side of your cutting plate is being used and is stretching and stretching, and this side is not, and it's staying nice and tight, well, it's gonna bow. It's natural. That's what's going to happen. So when you're looking at your plates, if you're bowed not only on one side, but you're bowed on the other, it's really, really hard to make those plates unwarped. But if you're only bowed on one side, here, let me show you this one. So we're bowed here. You can see that bow really clear. But we're pretty straight right here. We're pretty good right here and right here. This looks pretty nice. So really, our bow is right here. This plate is salvageable if that bow just drives you crazy. How would you do it? You would not put it in the microwave, and you would not put it in your oven. But you will use a die to make it better. How do you do that? It's really simple. If this is the side that I'm calling bowed, and this is the side that isn't bowed, it's the one that curves up, curves into that bow, I'm going to use another die to cut into this side. Does that make sense? I know it's a little crazy, right? Because you want to put it in this way into your machine, because then you've got this and it slides right into your machine nice and easy. But to get rid of this bow, I'm actually going to cut into the side that hasn't been stretched. Remember, the side that's all warped, that's bulging out, that's the side you cut into an awful lot, that's stretched out a lot. And the underside is the side that needs to be stretched. So ideally, I'm going to take a steel rule die, because a steel rule die is the fastest way to fix this. You absolutely could do it with a chemically etched die, with a thin die, a wafer die. Sure, you could start putting wafer dies all along here and running them through, and what's going to happen is every time you run it through, it's going to leave a little bit of mark, and that little mark is that V that's stretching it all out. We need to get this side to stretch to the same as this side. So with a steel rule die, because the blades are a little bit sharper and they get in there a little bit harder than a wafer die, if you start with a steel rule die and you are cutting, you're going to just keep cutting all the way down, and you're going to do it several times. And you will start to see no paper needed. Don't use any paper. Just cut right into your plate. And what will happen is this side will start to stretch. And as it stretches, what happens is, oh, I hope I can do this. What happens is, Kevin was so much better. Oh, there we go. Ta-da! It will become straight. Well, at least as straight as it possibly can. Now, what's really important to know is what side you need to cut into. So if you are a die cutter, let me bring my machine over. If you are a die cutter that cuts with your die facing upwards, so here I've got my do not cut plate, and I've got my die face up, my blade is right there, my face up. I'm going to cut into the side that is the bottom of the curve, a side A. Let's say a side A. So I want that bow to face me. I want that facing up. So the bottom side, the side that doesn't have that big warpage, is the one I'm going to put against my blade. and I'm going to just start sending it through. And I'm gonna send it through many times. And I'm not just gonna send it in one place, I'm gonna move it around so that it equally stretches out my plate again and again. There we go. And I'm just gonna keep cutting into it. And eventually, this will start to flatten out as there's more cuts stretching this side. Now, if you're a die cutter that cuts down, well, we're gonna go a little bit different. We're going to put our side A in. So you're gonna have it's gonna be wobbly because that bow is against the bottom of your platform. It's gonna be a little bit wobbly, but you're gonna put your side A there, and you're gonna start with your die, and you're gonna put your do not cut plate on top, and then you're going to send it through. And again, you're just gonna keep doing that until you start seeing your bow lessen and lessen and lessen. That's how you get rid of it. And so if you're sitting there watching TV, just grab your TV tray, start putting your die this way and that way, and start sending it on through. This is if you want your plates to last and last and last and last, and it's just gonna keep making little cuts, and those little cuts are gonna stretch this side out, so this side will ultimately match that side, and you're going to end up with something closer to this as opposed to this. Is it doable? Absolutely. Now, to avoid this altogether, if you're using dies, instead of putting your die in the center each and every time, instead of putting it right down in the center of your platform and your plates and cutting and cutting and cutting, especially with your smaller dies that you can kind of move out towards the edges, use the entire cutting plate. Maybe if I was cutting my sailboat, maybe I would cut it here the first time, and then I would slide it over here and cut it the second time. And if I need more than that, maybe I would move it up here the next time. And then I would move it over there the next time. And then I could flip my plate and keep going. The idea is to have all the cuts, all those little V cuts, evenly dispersed on both sides of your cutting mat, and that is going to keep your cutting mat, even though it may look horrible and you can't see through it, at least it's not warped, and then you use it and use it and use it. And I have been told you can get, if you do that, if you move your dies all the way around, not on your do not cut plate, but on one of your, if you move your dies all the way around and you're using the outside edges and you're using the inside and you're flipping it and using the outside edges and using the inside, that you can get thousands and thousands of cuts with one plate with hardly any warpage. And who doesn't want that? Plates, you know, you want to get them as long as you can. They're not too expensive to replace, but if you don't have to replace them and you can get something like a die or a stamp or some inks in lieu of having to replace your plates, who wouldn't want that? So remember, when you're looking at your plates, if they are warped, if you look at them and they're warped this way and they're warped this way, just use them till they break, but know that you may not always get the best cut because it's hard for that plate to hit that die in its sweet spot every single time. But eventually, these just have to go. And if you have a plate that is warped just here, and it looks pretty good right here, not much warpage at all, well then, that's a salvageable plate. And what are you gonna cut into? You're not gonna cut into the side that sticks out like a belly. You're gonna cut into the side that is, not in the, what is it? You're not gonna cut on the outie side, you're gonna cut on the innie side. Think of it like a belly button. We're not gonna cut on the outie because that's already been cut a lot and that's stretched. We need to cut on the innie side to make that equal the same as this. And when you do that, you will find that your plate will flatten out and you'll be able to use it again and again. And remember, see, we're just as guilty of it as you. Look at this. It's all cut in the middle. There's no cutting on the sides. No, I'm supposed to be cutting on the sides, and that's supposed to help keep my plates even longer. So I need to start doing that. So if I promise to start doing that, you have to start doing that. Okay, so also just one more time. It's just really important. Please don't put them in a microwave. Please don't put them in an oven. They're plastic. That's not where they're meant to go. I know the temptation is there to get them all nice and flat, but you don't, no, it's just not a good thing. So do the way I did. Get out an old steel rule. I even brought out, just for Kevin and Lisa, I even brought out an Ellison design die. I bet you haven't seen one of these in a long time. But it doesn't matter what steel rule die you have. Get one and cut into it, and cut into the inny side of your plate and not the outy side of your plate. And you are going to find that your plates are going to last you so much longer. And that's a really great benefit. And again, this is a engineering, you know, this is I don't have the thought process to even figure out how they came to know all of this, but it doesn't really matter what plates you use. They're all manufactured pretty much the same. So if you have a cuttle bug and it's warping, you're going to want to do pretty much exactly what I just showed you. You're going to want to cut into the inny side and not the outy side, and then you're going to be able to flatten out your plates. Or if you have a Grand Caliber won't take, well, that's why we don't sell them. A Grand Caliber won't take a steel rule die, but you could do it with your chemically etched dies, your wafer dies. So that is my PSA for today. I hope that it was beneficial, that you felt it was beneficial. And if you have questions, I will do my best to find out answers and come back to you with them. But for now, I'm going to tilt back down and we're going to get started with Simply Defined, our January release, which is called Inspired. And it is all about my dad. Okay, down we go. Bye. I got nothing down there to show you, but woohoo, ka-choo. Okay, so let's see, what can I pull over? Well, all right, I said that we had pictures, and I was able to pull a couple of them. So I found this with my dad's stuff, and I have no idea how long this bank has been in, well, they're probably not even in business anymore at all. And it says Dale Brown, and it says important, it says reward. And it says valuable papers, Papa, on the back. And my dad was a collector of pictures. He had every picture from the 1800s. He's got more pictures than you can possibly imagine. So when I saw this, what I didn't anticipate finding when I opened it, I really thought that it would be valuable papers. I opened it up, and there was just a whole bunch of papers that, or a whole bunch of pictures that he hadn't had time to put in frames, because my dad had frames. Oh my gosh. My dad had frames of everything. He had so many pictures. It was unbelievable. He had my grandma and my great-grandma, my great-great-grandma. And so anyway, when I started scrolling, was seeing this, I found the pictures of me and my dad. And it had to do with this collection. And my dad and I would, in fact, I have to look at you, so I can't do this. My dad and I would go a lot on little mini vacations. Sometimes my mom was able to come, and sometimes my mom wasn't. But every year, my dad would pack me up in the car, a pickup truck, and we would go to Oregon and Washington, most often via the coastal route. And we would stop in Monterey, and we would stop in San Francisco, and we would just make our way up. And we started doing that when I was very, little, 8, 9 years old. And then when we couldn't make a trip, because I have lots of relatives up in Oregon and Washington, we would go to Ventura Beach and stay at the Shores Motel, which is this little dive motel about a block away from the beach in Ventura, and it's still there today. So I was going through my dad's things when we moved him out of his house, and I found that little pouch of things, and I was going through it, and I kind of forgot about it for a while until I started designing my own dies, and I really wanted to do something with my dad, and so this collection came to be. And so I'm going to show you a couple pictures. Don't laugh. I was a ham then. I am a ham now. I only have a few because honestly, going through them was hard. So I just grabbed 2, 3 pictures, one of the pickup truck, And but this is me. I was about 11 years old, 12 years old. We are at Monterey Bay with my mom and my dad, and we are looking at the boats. I was a ham, huh? Yep, that's me, and that's my dad, and that's my mom. And again, I was probably 11 or 12 years old. I know I was big for 11 or 12, trust me, I know. And then here's another picture of my dad and mom looking out, and it even says on the back, looking out at Monterey Bay. And there's my dad and my mom. And we would do these trips, and they were wonderful. And a lot of times it was just with my dad. And when I was just with my dad, here's my mom in the pickup truck. My dad would put a twin-size mattress in the back of this pickup truck. And I would get in the back and lay down. You know, I would sunbathe. I would listen to my Walkman, and we would travel all the way up to Oregon and Washington with me on a twin bed in the back of his pickup truck and him driving, and we would stop everywhere. So it was all about the water and being close to the ocean. So I have this new collection. It's called Be Inspired. And I hope you like it as much as I do. I'm going to show you how we use it. It is very much a layering collection, which means that every element, there is so much packed in this collection. Every element is meant to work with every other element of each individual set. They all are meant to tie together. And the girls, the SMS design team, really, really embraced my whole thought process, and they just took it to a different level. So look it, I did good. I only teared up a little bit. It's hard because I see a picture over here, and it's my dad holding my first son, James. That's my dad. So I'm just going to continue on because I was doing so good, and we are going to tilt on down, and we are going to get started. Okay? Bye, everybody. See, I got little tissue right here. Okay, so what do I have for you today? Well, let me pull a sample over from one of the girls. Let's pull Michelle's. This is part of Be Inspired. It is definitely water and sailboats and lighthouses. But it's all meant to be 3D and popped and used together. So I want to show you all the different elements and kind of give you an idea of how we are using it. Now I'm going to start with, I think, the stamps. So each set, except for I think 2, have a stamp set to go with it. We've got the boats right here. So you're going to get the boat with all the words, and then you're going to get the die set that also coordinates. So I've got the die set that coordinates. And as you know, we always sell the stamps and the dies as one. They come in the same exact package. And they're only $13.99 if you buy them onesies, if you just like one set. But if you buy the entire bundle, then it brings them down to $10 a set. So I have got my sailboat here, and I'm going to grab some paper and I'm going to ink it up. I've got my Memento ink, and I like the Memento ink best because if you decide to use Copics, if you decide to use watercolor, whatever you want to use, the ink itself is not going to smear, and that's really important. I'm going to grab my little stamp mat, I'm going to put my paper right on, and I'm just going to give a press. Now again, I'm not going to do chest compressions. I'm not trying to revive the stamp. I'm just trying to give a good press. But if you press too hard, you're going to smush the stamp. And I'm going to lift up, and there is my sailboat ready to color. But what if you want to die cut it? That's okay. With mine, they always come with a frame die, so you can die cut it out. Let's go ahead and die cut this one really fast. Bring over my machine. I'm using my Sizzix Big Shot machine. I have got my magnetic platform here, and because I'm using my magnetic platform, I'm going to put my cut plate on the bottom. Not my do not cut plate, my cut plate. I'm going to put my paper down, and I'm just going to line my die right up with it. Now, you need to line it with that cut edge. Can you see that little edge? That is what's going to cut the paper. And what's important is Simply Defined dies I have manufactured by Ellison, which is the same company that manufactures Sizzix. It's their parent company. So their dies are what you see is what you cut. And that means the blade is right on that edge. So if you can see it, that's exactly what you're going to cut. It's unlike some of the others where the blade is kind of centered in between and you might just be a little bit off. So I'm going to line it on up. I'm going to put my do not cut plate on top and I'm going to send it on through. Oh, Stacy. I have got a cut plate on the bottom. Don't do that. Let's try this again. It wouldn't go. It was too thick. I'm like, why is it not rolling? There we go. Oh, much, much, much better. So I'm going to send it right on through. Pop it out. And my die is ready to go with all the detail. I can color it. I can do whatever I want with it. But remember I told you that the sets here are layering sets. The base for these sets is my tree. This is my tree die. And this is where everything starts with all these sets, because this is what I remember. I remember standing up on the Monterey Peninsula and looking out, and it all was through the trees. So I'm going to cut my tree die for you, and this time I'm going to be using our brand new colors of bedazzled paper. So we have got 2 new releases of bedazzled paper. I've got primaries and I have got metallics. So these are some of the metallic colors. Look at that sheen and shine versus a primary color, some of the blues because I was doing water and the tree. I'm just going to grab that. I still am going to use my magnetic platform. I'm going to put my paper down. I'm going to put my tree die right on top of it. And the benefit of the magnetic platform is that nothing moves. Once you've got it locked, you know, it's on there, it just doesn't move, which is really nice when you are working with a die and stamp combination. And I am going to send it on through. Little creaks, little cracks, it's okay, it's not a problem. If I wanted to avoid those noises, all I have to do is take my die and do it at a slight edge, a slight turn. So if I rolled it through like this, do you see how it's now at a slight angle versus straight on? The creaks and cracks wouldn't be nearly as much. Let's send it through and you'll hear the difference. See, there's hardly any creaks and cracks. So if that really bothers you, that's okay. Just turn your die to a slight angle and it'll get rid of that for you. Let's go ahead and pop it on out. All the little bits and pieces that we don't need. Send my machine over there and let's pop it on out. Now it's not an overly intricate die, so you don't need to necessarily use your precision base plate. But there's my tree. So the layering element is starting with some sort of a base. I have the tree and I have a water die. Here's my water die. I know it doesn't look like water, but it is. The way this die works is that it doesn't have a cutting edge here or here. Actually, it doesn't have a cutting edge on any of them. So when you cut it, you're not going to cut this exact piece out. You're going to cut these beautiful pieces of water into a piece of paper. I started this one and I hadn't finished, but I laid my die right on top and I cut it. It didn't cut the square out, it just cut the beautiful detail out, and then I moved it over. And I've popped most of the little pieces out, but the idea is that when you put the white behind it, you've now got your your white caps on your water. It's a very grown-up water dye. It's not cutesy where, you know, you've got little, what looks like little waves going. It's a very grown-up water dye because when you use it, let me just cut a piece off. When you use it and you start to layer all the elements of the Be Inspired set, so I've got my water there. My water there. Then I can line up, oh, tree's upside down. Then I can line up my tree. And assuming that I was using a card base, let's just snip this off so you don't even see that. So now I've got my water, I've got my tree, and now depending on what I want to do, I can start layering in all the different elements of my dies. I can layer in my boat. I can have it in front of the tree. I can layer in my boat behind the tree. It's all up to you. I have a sun, I have birds, I have a lighthouse, I have a bridge. Let's do the lighthouse real quick. So I've got the lighthouse over here. I've got my lighthouse dies right here. And this time, I think I'm going to do the background in gray and the actual decor die, the decorator die, I'm going to do in blue so that it will layer right on top. So let's bring my machine right back over. I can lay this die down. I can cut a little piece of my blue and lay my other die and cut them at the exact same time. And this time I'm gonna push them kind of to the edge because that's what I'm supposed to do. Not necessarily in the middle all the time. I'm gonna take my Do Not Cut plate. It's still beautiful and nice and clean. And I'm going to send it right on through. Being that I don't have an extra plate down here. Oops! Okay. So I'm going to turn that one over and see that it cut beautifully. I'm going to send this on through, pull this, and move it over there. So now I have got the background and I have got the decorator die that will layer right on top of that background. Poke all the little pieces out for the detail, and I could layer it straight on top. And then I could bring over my water, and I could bring over my trees, and I could put it over here, and I even have a little bluff that it sits on. Because what if you don't want to use the trees? Maybe you just want to use the water. Not a problem. My dies, the lighthouse die has this darling little bluff that you can cover the water with and have it sit right on the little bluff to give you even more, and then you can finish it with the birds and there's so much to be done. That's how Be Inspired was created with my dad. It was meant to give you opportunities to mix and match and layer and what if you didn't want to do the decor die? Maybe that wasn't the die you wanted to do. Not a problem. Maybe you just wanted to stamp it. We've got the stamp that coordinates. All I have to do is ink it up. Maybe you wanted the stamped image. Ink it up. Bring over my stamp mat, my gush pad. Lay it down, line it up because it's going to fit beautifully, and give a nice press. And I'm going to take that stamped image and put it right onto the background. Maybe you would have preferred that. It's all up to you. Almost anything is possible because there are so many different combinations. We've got the reeds. So if you didn't want to do the boat, the lighthouse, or the bridge, you can just do beautiful, beautiful cards and layouts and projects with just the reeds and the cute little dragonflies. So we really tried to put as much as we could into this set and give you as many opportunities, especially with guy cards, because guy cards are so hard to come by sometimes. And you get cutesy, but not necessarily grown up and sophisticated. So I wanted to show you a couple samples while we're doing this, because I just think it's that important. These are from Sharon. Somebody said I need to hold these in place longer because I move too much. And I saw that comment and I think you're right. So I'm going to try and be better about that. So this one's from Sharon. The clouds are part of the release. The birds are part of release. The lighthouse, this is just using the decorator die, not even using the background die. Just the decorator die. Remember I told you I had a bluff that it could sit on? Absolutely. The happy retirement comes with it. And can you see the water underneath? All done with the Be Inspired dies. Then we have a completely different one where she's used the bridge, and you've got the trees in the background, and you've got the dragonflies going on. And yes, the little cityscape in the background, that comes with it too. That's a die and a stamp too. You've got the water below. And this one says, live in the moment, which is something that my dad really wanted, for me to live in the moment. So, so these are Sharon's, and they're just beautiful. I think I'm going to show you Yvette's next. So again, you've got the tree. I've got clouds. I've got a sun. I've got the sailboat. And Yvette, of course, being Yvette, she even got the little sail to pop over. All framed in by the trees. And she just colored. She cut it twice and colored the tree. So you had the bark as brown and the tree as green. Beautiful. Easy to do. It's all about layering. Just layer. You're doing decoupage. Think of it that way. Get yourself a couple pop dots. She's got some stuff popped here. And you're doing your own form of decoupage with Be Inspired. Let's see, who's next? So that was, let me show you Elena. I'm going to show you Elena next. So Elena took a vase, one that you can get at Walmart or IKEA. It's a very inexpensive vase. She did the front with the trees, and she's got the little sentiment, live in the moment, down below. But what she did is she made a topper for the vase. And inside, she has done a three-dimensional view. I don't know if you can see it. I can see she did a three-dimensional view. So when you pull it out, she has taken clear acetate and she has layered it with different elements of the set so that they all line up. And then you put it back in with a little luminary in there, and you've got a showstopper. It truly is beautiful. Everything just lines up, and that's taking a dollar store vase. Elena also did some three-dimensional with the reeds. Yes, you're gonna get the reeds. Yes, absolutely you're gonna get the dragonflies. And she turned the tree. Is that fabulous? And it just sits, just like a little picture. It's like a little work of art. She's got the water in there. And the water was so important because it had to look real. It couldn't be a kid's water. It had to be a grown-up water. And here's her other one. Isn't that just yummy? And it's all done using the new colors of Bedazzled, the primaries and the metallics. It's just yummy. So when we look at the collection, they're meant to work together. The bridge will work with the water, that will work with the tree, that will work with the reeds, that will work with the lighthouse. They're all meant to work together. And we put sentiments with it, happy retirement, because I know retirement can be hard to find. And then encouraging. Oh, there's a happy Father's Day in here too, because it was for my dad. I just really thought that he would be here to see it. So life's a gift, and live in the moment, and nothing is impossible. My dad would say that, nothing is impossible. And so be your own hero. So I didn't realize just exactly how much those words, those sentiments would mean to me right now. But we've got more. I want to finish showing you samples because the girls really did an amazing job. This one is by Kathy. And this is a hot off the press fold over card, and it actually tucks in there. And the clouds are from the set, the birds are from the set, the sentiment is from the set, and then you open it. And she used everything. She got the bluff and the lighthouse and the boat and the bridge, and it is the San Francisco Bridge, and she's got the reeds in there and the water. And what an awesome card to give to somebody. Isn't that just gorgeous? I hope I'm holding them long enough. I forgot. So this is Kathy, and she did a beautiful job. And then we have her layout, because layouts are important. Not everybody's a card maker, not everybody's a scrapbooker. Some of you are altered art people. So we've got the layout here where we've used the boats, and we've used the bridge, and we've used the lighthouse, and the clouds, all the birds, they all come in the set. And she did this beautiful layout of San Francisco. And I think it just looks awesome. And all it is paper. This is just paper and dies. Look at what you can do with paper and dies. You can make your own embellishments. So that's Kathy. Then we have Doris. And Doris took inks and she made the backgrounds using her different inks, whether it be distress inks or mementos or whatever. She blended them right on simply defined paper, because our paper is so smooth that you can blend away on it. And then she took my water and did it with black and glitter. Is that not magnificent? This is Doris, and the colors are rich, and she just went in there and she embellished the boat up. But who wouldn't love to get this for Father's Day? And then she did this one, and I showed this one. Oh, I'm supposed to remember. Nope, not that one. Not that one, Doris. I'm supposed to remember that some of them have sentiments on the inside. Here she did with the trees. And you know what that is under there? That is simply defined reflection paper. Yeah. That's the jeweled reflection paper to give that water a shimmer, a nighttime shimmer. But this is Doris. Let's peek. Oh, she put the sentiment on the inside. Really beautiful, isn't it? This is Doris. And she just made the background using simply defined paper and your inks. Take out an inexpensive makeup sponge and let it go. Just start smudging around. Doris also did here. Again, this is all out of paper. Hard to believe, isn't it? It's magnificent. The samples the girls did were just beautiful. You've got your happy retirement. See the bluff and the reeds and the lighthouse. A few markers, some white paper. Oh my gosh, you can go to town. And she's got the little backdrop of the city right there. And again, that comes in one of the sets. Let's open it. Oh, and she decorated the inside. But this is Doris. and it's a magnificent card. Doris also did a really beautiful layout. So here we go. You've got the bluffs and the lighthouse, and you've got the bridge, and you've got the water all across the bottom. So Doris did a beautiful layout for you. Love, love, love. And then I had started to show Michelle when I opened. So I've got Michelle here with Live in the Moment. And let's peek. Oh, nothing inside. Okay. The girls are like, why don't you ever show the inside of the cards? It's like, I didn't know there was anything in there. But then Michelle also did this one. And I know, see that tiny lighthouse? Not only do you get the really big lighthouse, but you get the tiny one with the tiny bluff. Just darling, isn't it? And she just made the, what do they call that, a porthole? She just made that, cutting circles. And then the water, which gives you a real water. It looks like, you know, not so cutesy, a little bit more sophisticated, a little bit more grown up. So this is Michelle. And then all the way to the back, we're gonna get to Claire. And Claire loves mixed media. So we've got from Claire, it's just a little stand, stands right up on somebody's desk. So you've got the stamp of the bluff, you've got the die cut of the bluff. Yes, the bluff has its own stamp too. You can just undo that, and she's decorated all the way. You want to see how great the bluff is when it's stamped? Those stamps come in the set. All she did was use the stamps. That's all she did was use the stamps. Look at that. That's all in these sets. The birds, all of it. Yay! So this is Claire. And then Claire also did her little frame. This would be darling in a bathroom. I think my friend Leslie has a bathroom that's all seashells and boats and things. This would be so cute. She's used the trees, and this time she's just used the stamp, and she covered it with acetate. It's about getting the most you can out of the sets you have, and by including the dies and the stamps together at one low price, that lets you have far more options. And then Claire also did this beautiful card. Isn't that just yummy? And the paper is, it's like dictionary paper that she inked and did the whole card in dictionary paper. So talented. Last but not least, we have Miss Belinda. And Miss Belinda did our canvas. Now Belinda took my water die and used it as a stencil to put down paste to make the texture of the water. Absolutely, you can cut it out of paper and use the paper as a stencil without any problem. You can use the die if you want as a stencil, and that's what she did to put down her paste, and then colored over it with whatever distress inks or mists or gelatos that she used. And she's got the bluff and the lighthouse, and then the cute little boy. But this is Belinda. And the colors are just yummy. Oh yeah, the little sun and the bird are there too. Those are in the set too. So I want to actually show you what comes in each set. So I'm gonna start with the Serene, what we're calling Serene. All of these goodies, oh, this one's falling, I don't think that one got taped down. All of these goodies come in the one package. You get to do all of this with one package, and when you buy the bundle, it's $10. You get all the stamps, you get all the dies, you get all the layering pieces, all of that out of one set. And this one is Be Inspired Serene. Yummy, huh? The dragonflies, the stamps, all of it. So that's Be Inspired, Serene. Next we have the lighthouse. And this is Be Inspired, Reflections. And again, all of the individual pieces that you get with the one set to make all that you see. That can then be layered with the reeds. There's just so many possibilities. Just the stamps alone to do that on a card is beautiful. That's a card all by itself, ready to go. But you can stamp the bluff, you can die cut the bluff, you can layer the bluff. It's just really up to you what you want to do. And it all comes packaged together. And this one says, nothing is impossible. Next we have Be Inspired, Journey. And I have been across this bridge with my dad more times than I care to talk about. This is the Golden State Bridge, and it's beautiful. And again, all the different things that you can do with just the one set. Amazing, isn't it? And that is Journey. Next, we've got the boat. And this one's called Moments. And this one has the happy retirement and live in the moment. So again, you can do just the background of the boat. You can do the background and stamp it on here. You can do the decor. You can stamp on top of the decorator die. You can then layer everything together, or you can just use the stamps. And yes, the little pieces come with it too. Absolutely. And that is called Moments. Next we have a twofer. The top one is our tree. And that's where you get the happy retirement, is with the tree. So that's the tree cut out of a couple different colors of the new bedazzled paper in the primaries and the metallics. And then below, so here's the tree. Below is the water. Now the water, oh my gosh, the water, not only do you get the water, but you get the birds, you get the small lighthouse with the bluff, you get the sun, you get all the clouds. All of that is in one die set. Crazy! But it was a great time. You know, it was really good. I'm glad I did it, and I'm glad that I'm able to honor my dad this way, because I think he's looking down saying, yep, I remember that time, and I remember watching the seals, and I remember my red pickup truck. So this is Tranquil, and then the tree is Strength, is the name of the collections, or the name of the sets. This is the make and take that we are doing right now while you are watching all of this. Just an easy, simple make and take. This is releasing Saturday morning, so I'm downstairs right now with everybody making this great little card where we've used the clouds, we've used the sailboat, we've used the water, and we've used the trees to frame everything. And then we have our Simply Defined bedazzled paper. We have the new primary colors. See the shimmer on there? And the new metallic colors. Is that not just a little bit of happiness right there? Yum! These are the last two in the collection. That gives us 5 total. We have a solid pack of white. We have cool colors. We have jewel colors. And now we have primaries and we have metallics. And you get 18 sheets in each pack. So you'll get 3 of each color. And this is how they come packaged. I'm really excited to have the primaries and the metallics. I think the colors are just a little bit of happiness, and it really rounds out the whole collection. And remember, you can sand this paper, so if you emboss it and you hit it with sanding paper, a little sandpaper, some of that sheen is going to come off, giving you the most beautiful relief. Oh my gosh, it's absolutely gorgeous. So I am going to pull this card over one more time and show you. This is Yvette's card, and I'm going to hold it there so you can see it. And I'm going to say this is Simply Defined, Be Inspired, in honor of my dad. Dale Lickety Brown. So where are you going to find all of this great stuff? You're going to find it at scrapbookingmadesimple.com. I am so close to being done that I am not going to stop. I'm just going to... You're going to find it all at scrapbookingmadesimple.com. You're going to find it under the Simply Defined and Simply Refined collections, and those are the brands that are brought to you by me, Stacy. I hope that you have, I hope you see that this little girl, without my parents, this big girl would have never happened. So, and I was a ham then. So I thank everybody for watching. Remember your cutting plates. Look at the warpage and remember, I think I like the innie outie the best. You're gonna cut into the innie part, not the outie part of your plate. I don't know if I have one here. So to get your plate not to be so warped, you're gonna take a steel rule die and cut into the innie part, and that's gonna help make it straight again. You're not gonna cut onto the outie part. Just remember, it's like a belly button. All right, you guys, it's me. I will see you next time, and thank you so much for staying with me. I greatly appreciate it. Okay, bye.